Good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1Mby1M Strategy Roundtable for Entrepreneurs. 1M1M, as you know, is the first global virtual accelerator in the world, and our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And in support of that mission, we do these free mentoring sessions week after week after week. This is the 367th session. We've been doing this since 2008, and, over 60,000 people have participated in these sessions, and it's been an incredible representation of entrepreneurship all around the world over this period of time. So it's been absolutely fascinating for us doing this week after week after week, and it's been a tremendous learning experience. So if you like tweeting the show today, please use hashtag 1M1M. And our Twitter handles are at 1M1M and at Romana. You can follow either or both. Either is probably enough. One is probably enough. And you will get to access a lot of very rich content. The YouTube channel is 1M1M Roundtables, and every recording from here, from these roundtables, are available on YouTube. So, one thing we've done is we've been extremely transparent. So if you want to get to know us, one of the easiest ways to do that is to come to these roundtables or to listen to these recordings of the roundtables on YouTube, and you will very easily get to know us. These are call-in instructions for today. I will put these up a bit later so that we can dialogue with the audience. We do have a bit of a time constraint today. I have a back-to-back meeting that I have to run to. So we do have a guest, and that's where we're going to spend the bulk of the time. And then we'll do some, audience Q&A, maybe a presentation, but I will need to run early today. Rob Purdy is an incredible entrepreneur, and I met him recently while doing his entrepreneur journey story and found it to be incredibly motivating myself. And he runs a company called Power2Motivate, which he's going to talk about today. Welcome, Rob. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, thanks very much. I appreciate the opportunity to be on your show.
So, Rob, let's start by telling our audience about Power2Motivate. What do you do?
Yep, Power2Motivate is a global engagement platform. It was designed to be a global product delivering engagement across multiple stakeholders. So it delivers engagement for employees, sales channels, as well as consumer loyalty programs. And
am I right to assume or infer, based on our previous conversation, that your bulk of the business is in employee motivation?
Actually, no. It is split almost evenly today between employee and also sales and channel incentive loyalty.
Okay.
And then we're also expanding very quickly into what I'll call consumer loyalty, sort of the last prong in terms of the key area we want to grow the business towards. And that area is growing very quickly.
Okay. So maybe you could double-click down on all three of those business areas that you are in and elaborate a little bit. What does it mean? What does employee motivation mean? What does sales and channel motivation mean? And what is your vision for consumer motivation or consumer loyalty?
Sure. So employee engagement or employee recognition is really about driving the correct behaviors with employees, trying to encourage them to do things that will obviously benefit the company. So tracking those behaviors is key. But it's really a process of recognition. It's a process of saying thank you, and it really starts from the top down. So there's a management interface to encourage management to take the lead and drive that thank you process throughout the organization. And it's quite amazing when a company really embraces the whole concept of engaging their employees and going through a process of setting these kinds of programs up. It is transformational for companies, and as a result, with a higher level of engagement, you're obviously increasing productivity, you're making employees more conscious of their behaviors and their outcomes, and you're tying that into a benefit. So ultimately, they'll earn points based on their performance, and they can convert that into something that they want for themselves. That's not discernibly different to channel, and it's not discernibly different to consumer. It's really just the types of tools we use. So on the sales and channel incentive side, what we're really developing there are much more, I'd say, complex metrics, rules engines that allow us to go in and track sales metrics, maybe multiple different metrics, such as sell this week and sell 10 the next week. And again, you can bring in different SKUs and different types of sales metrics to measure all of that. So we have a very complex rules engine that we've developed that allows companies to do that tracking automatically, and then it ties back into a piece that either is, again, an outbound communications tool to instantly notify people that they've hit a threshold. They might also earn game tokens towards gamification, and that might lead into additional points and additional benefits for them. So the sales component is a little different in that we're tracking a specific discipline around sales effort. And consumer loyalty is similar again in that what we're really doing there is tracking consumer behavior. What have they purchased? What are their purchase behaviors? Can we get them to come to the store once more in a week? Can we get them to enter into a category of purchase that they haven't historically purchased? And how can we use that data to better help the store or the consuming public to buy things and earn more points and become greater engaged with that particular retailer, whether it's a bank or any other retail outlet around the world.
And where did you start? What was the genesis of the business? How did you get the idea, and what was the idea around which you started?
Yeah, the business really started back in 1998 when we were asked to put together a program for a pharmaceutical company that was really around creating engagement within their major distribution partnerships and ultimately down to the retail store. And in the early days like that, there wasn't a lot of technology. In fact, there wasn't any technology, and the objective was for us to build a technical platform to do the tracking and reporting and to communicate back out to the participants in the various stores and in the distribution channels. So we built really probably one of the first ever online platforms, incentive platforms, to do that automation. It was so successful, we were able to sell it to a number of companies really quickly, and the company, quite frankly, just kind of mushroomed from there. And that really was the genesis, was that initial conversation with the president of that company.
Mm-hmm. And you've done a phenomenal job bootstrapping this business. How did you manage to get it going, and what was the trajectory?
So the bootstrapping component was, for us, being as small as we were in the early days, there wasn't a lot of opportunity for funding, and technology funding was pretty pretty minute in those days. So we really built it one client at a time, and the technology, when you build technology like that, it does take longer to get from point A to point B. But ultimately, you're using your dollars a lot more wisely because they're certainly scarce resources. And we tended to do things, in terms of really planning ahead on what the technology was going to do next, how we were going to get there, what clients were going to help us get there. And it really was a process of adding clients, adding more capability. And the good news was that we were able to accelerate client growth and adoption really quickly, and that obviously helps immensely. From a trajectory point of view, I would say we started out in 98 with a couple small clients. By 2000, we had 8 or 10 customers up and running. We were a relatively small tech company with maybe $5 million in sales in those early days. But by 2008, just prior to the recession hitting, we had taken the company up quite a bit, probably towards 12, 15 million. So it wasn't a massively quick growth. But after that time, we launched a product called Power2Motivate, which was, in those early days, Power2Motivate didn't exist. And really the change point for us was moving from a legacy platform to SaaS. And that was the change point in 06 when we started developing that product, and we launched it in 07. And that's when trajectory from really 08 on, the company, quite frankly, mushroomed. We've been growing about 45% a year since that date, and we've seen kind of no end in that growth rate.
So there are 3 points, basically. You're the first 5-6 years, you did about got to about 5 million in sales. Then by about 2007, you got to 11, 12, 13 million in sales. And then you hit the real inflection point where it took off with the SaaS platform.
Exactly. And there was a couple years in that time period where, you know, things may have been a little bit flatter than 45, but for the most part, if you look at the last 5 years, we've averaged 45, not only growth in sales, but growth in profit. Actually, profit's been slightly ahead of sales, which is great. So we've been able to maintain profitability, grow the business, and build something that, quite frankly, people really like. They love the platform because of its multiplicity and the fact that it can service, you know, multiple stakeholders within a single company, and that seems to be a big differentiator for us as well.
So talk about the organization. I mean, the company that you were building in the beginning sounds like a slightly different company. The company in the middle was also a slightly different company, and then now you have a, you know, cutting-edge SaaS company. So what about team, and how did your organization evolve? And you're doing this in Canada, right?
Yeah, we're based just outside of Toronto. We have 95 people now in the organization in Toronto. We have, because of our global footprint, we have another 40 people internationally around the world that work in various parts of the business. The primary group out of Toronto is kind of split between about 50% of the team is technical development. So there's a 50-person tech team roughly in the Toronto office. And beyond that, they're split out into finance, and we have 2 platforms. So we have a customer support team for both platforms, as well as a technical development team for both platforms. And that's what makes up the bulk of the employee group in Toronto.
And what about business model? What business model did you start with? And then how did that evolve? And what is it now, including what kind of average deal size are we talking about today?
Yeah, so the business models hasn't evolved too much. Being a bootstrap company, again, going back to the limited resource comment, we really had to do things in a way that we could create synergy and grow quickly. And the best opportunity for that to happen was to create partnerships. So we really developed a fairly refined channel strategy and essentially went out and licensed the platform. Being SaaS, it was modeled perfectly for that. And we built a sort of an admin interface, and through basically the ability to use the admin interface, our clients were able to segregate all their customers within one single interface of the application and then grow their business exponentially. And our job was to do the upgrades, put in additional software capability, as well as host and provide all of the security and IP protection that's required. So that model has worked extremely well, and along the way, we did secure a number of direct clients. And it's not to say we don't have a direct model as part of that, we do, but we blend the two together, and we work very closely with our partners to make sure we don't step on toes through the sales channel process. But at the end of the day, the market is such a big and growing market, we rarely run into each other, and when we do, we amicably work through the process. So it's a good model, and it's been I would say all our partners like the model as much as we do, which is great. So we get lots of support. And there is a builder
And this you're talking about the SaaS business, the current SaaS business.
Correct, yes. Today we're 100% SaaS.
And what is the average deal size of the business, of the SaaS business?
So you would, I guess, depending, in our channel partnerships, they generally will be hitting deal sizes anywhere from $100,000 to $500,000. We have closed deals as large as $50 million. We don't do a lot of those, but when they come in, they're great. But you know, you look at again a $500,000 deal to $1 million deal. You know, the marketplace, that's pretty typical of what we call a small to medium-sized client. A middle market client would be, you know, 1 to 3, 1 to 4 million, and then larger clients are typically 5 million plus. So the growth can come pretty quickly once you get those clients.
And is that a subscription deal, or are we talking about transactions?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So there's, of that, let's just use a simple number, $1 million. Of that $1 million, there would likely be roughly a 10% subscription cost for the technology. And then above that would be the reward spend, because we're in the business of delivering rewards and benefits to the people that earn the points within the system. So usually it's about 85 to 90% of the spend will go back into the reward component. And again, we provide the rewards within the Power2Motivate platform as well. So we have a secondary profit margin built into the reward capability that we deliver to our channel partners.
And the products that generate your transaction business, the retail business almost, are those physical products exclusively, or there are other digital products as well?
There's definitely a lot of digital products in there. So gift cards is a good example. The gift card industry's gone digital virtually around the world. So we are now operating digital rewards for gift cards in over 100 countries. We do that for e-books and music and movies, mobile top-up for phone conversion. All of that's done digitally around the world. And we also have physical merchandise and physical goods and services that we deliver in 180 countries, and that's been built out through several hundred partnerships that supply the merchandise and do the delivery. All of that is done on an in-country basis.
So if you just to close up this part of the conversation, the two phases that you went through before coming to SaaS, how did you acquire customers and what was the business model?
Before coming to SaaS? Is that, yeah.
The 1998 to 2003 period, what was the business model, and how did you go to market, for example?
Yeah, I think, well, we really leveraged the initial client and the capability that we developed for that client, and that allowed us to have conversations with some fairly large telcos, all located in Canada. So
it was direct.
Yes, we did sell direct, and we landed a number of clients, probably 8 or 10 clients within those first couple of years that were pretty substantial. Canada's largest telco, Bell Canada. We worked with Chrysler in those early days. And those larger clients, they really liked the platform. They liked the concept of being able to provide that digital content to their dealers, whereas previously everything was mailed. So converting in those days was fairly easy on a direct basis, but adding new clients in a legacy platform was really the stumbling block. It was a slow, very costly process. It didn't allow us to be really endeared by our clients because of the time and energy and cost to take the next client to market. And that was really the genesis behind the next evolution when we moved to SaaS.
So one thing you mentioned as you were describing the channel strategy of the SaaS business that I would like you to elaborate on, if you would, is channel conflict. So you are selling direct and you're selling through channels. How do you, this would be a very good educational segment for our audience. How do you manage channel conflict?
So the sales teams work with so we have a channel sales team that is separate from the direct sales team. So one thing we do is keep them separated, but we also keep an open door on communication, and that's really critical. We encourage our partners to share their leads with us. If they do, we promise and contractually agree not to obviously divulge any of that information externally, but we use it internally to make sure that we're not in conflict with any of our direct sales efforts. And typically what happens in those situations is this is a long tail sales cycle product, particularly for larger enterprise clients. It can take upwards of 18 months in the sales environment to close some of these larger deals. So there's plenty of time to have dialogue. There's plenty of time to talk about what's coming up next and to make sure that we're not stepping on toes through the sales cycle. So our team has become very good at that. Our clients over time have learned to trust us. That trust is earned, and it takes time to build trust with your partners to the point where they will give you that really critical information. And obviously we share that within Salesforce to track all the leads, and we track who's managing those leads and what partners are there to avoid the conflict. So everyone goes in, checks their Salesforce accounts, and makes sure that we're not double stepping on those clients.
Okay. All right. So we got a sense of the business. We got a sense of how you got here, your business model, and so forth. where do you go from here? What would you like to do with, you're at about, what, 80 million top line right now, right?
Yeah, I think we'll be above that by the end of the year. And, you know, our expectation next year is, you know, we want to hit a 150 mark. That's our objective. The reason, I think where we go from here, it's a great question. We've been working very hard in cloud services to really take our products outside of the sort of what I'll call the enterprise or traditional market and shift it into the Salesforces of the world and different cloud channel distribution partnerships. And we've been getting some initial traction that's really positive. And so we see a big investment ahead for us to really hone the product and build up what we call a best-in-class tool set that can be instantly implemented, not dissimilarly to you know, things like Sage and different products like Slack, where you can go in and with a click of a button launch the entire program. So for us, that product development has been underway probably for about 18 months, and we've been quietly launching a number of new products within those environments and getting some great traction in the early stages. And we find cloud services to be really intriguing because of the massive scale and the network and the networking that you can do within a really tight group of different companies. And what we're also finding is we're getting a lot of new channel partners that are coming up through that network, which is an entirely segregated group that we've never dealt with before. So it's really looking at different ways for your product to get to market and taking advantage of those bigger channel opportunities like a Salesforce that opens up a lot of doors very quickly.
You know, you have done what we, in the 1Mby1M program, we constantly promote as a mantra, which is Bootstrap First, raise money later, and you haven't even raised money yet. However, you've put yourself in a position where I bet you're being hounded by investors continuously. So it's, you know, it's great to be in that position. We constantly tell our entrepreneurs, like, do not go to investors as beggars, go as kings. Because, you know, if you're going without proof and just kind of going with, you know, half-baked things, then you go as a beggar, but you are obviously in a position where the investors are chasing you. Do you have thoughts about taking any of that money that is chasing you right now?
Well, yeah, I think at some point, you know, different factors kick in, not just simply about operating the business, but you know, you look at different stages in your life, and I think that's really, we've operated this business for 28 years. It's been many things in that 28-year cycle. And I think for all entrepreneurs, we kind of live in a nervous world where you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. You don't know what's going to happen. And at some point, you do want to take some of that money off the table. You've kind of gambled for, you know, if you're in it for the longer term, like what we have done, and we really do prophesize. I think you're right. I think sometimes, I think many times actually, young entrepreneurs take too much too soon, and then find themselves with a product that may not necessarily grab a lot of value. If it does grab value, it may not even succeed in the longer term. So it's really important to think about the business more from the purpose of why are you in it, and if you're in it to grow a lifestyle for yourself and your family, and make really a statement around being able to grow the business and give quality work, which we do. The jobs we create in this industry, as you know, are some of the best jobs in the world. And, you know, we take great pride in that. And so there's a big part of that, but I think at some point you get to an age where I am where you say, great, it's time to take some of that money off the table, take some of that risk away. But you don't want to give it all away either, to your earlier point. So we're certainly entertaining ideas around doing a kind of a two-part deal, do an early stage investment that can allow us to get some benefit from what we've built, because, you know, people will pay for that today, as you know, and then also take a round of investment where we can really dramatically improve the technology, improve maybe even the sales capabilities that we have, and really expand the product in a way that would take us to $1 billion company. And I really believe this business can be that next unicorn where we can be $1 billion company.
So folks, those of you who are listening, this, by the way, the financial engineering of these kinds of deals is very well understood. You know, when you have a proven product that the market has appetite for, there is steady revenue, steady profitability. There are lots of investors, private equity investors, late-stage venture capital investors are also doing this nowadays. They will be happy to do this kind of two-part deals where the founders or the management team get a certain amount of liquidity for all the years of work that they have put in, and then bring in also some amount of growth capital to take the company to the next stage. So if you get to that stage, your options are infinite and your negotiating power is also infinite. And that's one of the things I love about when I cover stories of entrepreneurs who have gotten to that stage, is that how they are in the driver's seat, not the investors. And I'm a complete sucker for entrepreneurship's, success and, negotiating power in the hand of the entrepreneurs and not the investors. So Rob is totally my hero.
Well, thank you.
So one question, last question, Rob, I know you have to run. You have recently started working with a 1Mby1M portfolio company that we introduced you to. Please tell us about this partnership. I hear from Raj Iyer on the other end that it's going very well, and he's quite thrilled to be working with you. So please tell us how it's going from your end.
Yeah, I must confess I'm not as close to it. I did connect him with our partner, and we have a gentleman, Raghu, based out of Chennai. So they've been connected through myself, and they're working, I think, in establishing his products within our reward portfolio. And then a secondary thing came out of that conversation, which was actually reselling our software. So it's interesting. These connections can lead to so many other things, and so we're quite grateful for that. Thank you. And I think it improves our product, and ultimately we're providing them with a service that they can resell in the India market, which for us is a huge opportunity to enter that market.
So one of the things that, just to elaborate a little bit on what this partnership is about, is that the company, the 1M1M company, is a marketplace of custom products. So they have, thousands of artisans and custom product manufacturers, designers and manufacturers in their marketplace. And a, nice part of their business has now become corporate, rewards, basically. Corporations, both for corporate rewards as in employee recognition kind of rewards, as well as sales, and like Rob has described, he has the software platform and the benefits management process. So these guys have the products themselves. So that's what the basis of the partnership is that Power2Motivate is a very large channel for the little company in our portfolio to sell their artisanal products and custom-made products into the corporate customer world. And I know that I introduced them to Rob within hours. Rob introduced them to the person in Chennai in India, and literally within 3 days there was a deal in place, and now they're generating significant revenue on a monthly basis, so through this partnership. So I have to say, it kind of made my day, the whole thing as it unfolded, and I learned about it just last week. Got a status report on how this is going. It just thrilled me to bits, absolutely.
That's great. Yeah, it's great for us. Thank you.
So Rob, last wrap-up question. How are things developing in Canada in terms of entrepreneurship right now? How are the new entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs developing? How is the ecosystem developing?
Actually, it's fantastic here. I mean, there's across the country, there's just more and more innovation and technology taking off, and entrepreneurialism is really strong here. I think we've always been, I think, a leader in developing technologies, and that has proven itself over the years, certainly in bioscience and other categories as well. So there's tremendous opportunities here. I think it's an interesting economy because we do get a lot of government support through things like scientific research and development tax credits. We've used that since 2002 to help develop our product. And those types of programs are unique to really only a handful of countries around the world that provide that kind of benefit. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, things are very good.
Do you invest in those little companies?
I don't. I have enough on my plate right now, just operating our core business, and I just haven't had time to kind of take myself away from that and look at other opportunities. I'd like at some point to do that. I think as we look at the stage 2, next steps for ourselves, that's always in the back of my mind, being something I would really like to do.
So we had Greg Bessner last week or the week before, who's also a successful entrepreneur who does a little bit of angel investment on the side, not too much, just maybe 1 or 2 deals a year. And he introduced himself on that topic. He introduced himself as a dumb investor, and he says, small VCs whom I compete with or whom I talk to are seeing 2,500, 3,000 investment opportunities a year, and I hardly, look at, I don't have time, I'm running my companies, I hardly look at a few that I know really well, and I invest very few. And I kind of countered that by saying, as far as I'm concerned, if I were an entrepreneur looking for money, I would want you more than these professional investors, just because the level of depth of operational skills and experience that you bring to the table is of much bigger value to me. So I hope you do start investing at some point and coaching entrepreneurs as they travel through their journeys. Thank you, Rob, for coming today. It was a great story.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, folks, I am actually going to skip through and tell you a little bit about 1M1M, and I'm going to have to wrap up today because I have to be somewhere. If you like what we do here, both in terms of interviews of experienced entrepreneurs bringing their wisdom to you, as well as actually mentoring entrepreneurs, which we do a lot of here, please refer serious entrepreneurs to 1M1M. Also, all your resources, 1M1M has a ton of resources that we make available to you. All that is available to you through 1Mby1M.com. We have a great blog. You'll learn a lot just by following the blog. We have the Entrepreneur Journeys book series, which we have 12 volumes of books, and you can read any one of them. These are case study-based books, 12 to 16 case studies per book. You go in there and, double-click down on a topic, and a topic could be bootstrapping with a paycheck. The topic could be billion-dollar unicorns. You learn from people who have done it before. That is the philosophy of the program across the board. In the online curriculum, in the books, in the blog, everywhere we have completely infiltrated this philosophy of learning from people who have done it before. These roundtables happen every week, week after week after week. Our full acceleration program is 1M1M Premium. So there you get extensive methodology guidance, full curriculum, business development help, strategy consulting, help with financing, and help with media relations. And that's a $1,000 annual membership fee program. We encourage you to take the 1M1M self-assessment. It's the kind of questions investors ask you. We want you to ask these questions of your own business by yourself so that you are, creating a good strategic plan for yourself. If you get stuck, use 1M1M Basic, which is our curriculum-only monthly option, through which you can just learn methodology. If you have methodology gaps in answering the self-assessment questions, this is a good way to plug that. Dig around on the website. There's tons of information about premium program, basic program, lots of FAQs, video FAQs, description of the curriculum, so on and so forth. We do have over 750 successful entrepreneur case studies and lots of video lectures. The case studies include 50-plus unicorn entrepreneurs, 400-plus VC-funded companies, as well as 300-plus bootstrapped entrepreneurs. You just met a bootstrapped entrepreneur who's on his way to becoming a unicorn entrepreneur. So, you know, these are all incredibly powerful stories through which you will learn a ton. Our methodology is lean, capital efficient bootstrap startups, and the mantra is bootstrap first, raise money later. You will find lots of coverage of our premium members on the site. We have roundtables every Thursday throughout September and October. We have a rendezvous coming up on September 27th. This is an in-person meeting that you can come to if you'd like. And then there are 3 more this fall. This is a new introduction from the program where we've received a lot of requests where people want to meet me personally. So I'll just hang out in Cafe Boroni in Menlo Park, California, in Silicon Valley, and you're welcome to come and hang out with me. We'll just chat about your business and get to know each other, and that option is going to be available starting end of September. That's it. If you want, we can do a very quick round of Q&A. Does anybody have any questions, comments, introductions, issues that you want to discuss? And I will also introduce you to Irina Patterson, who will be happy to answer questions about the 1M1M program, Irina at 1Mby1M.com. Any questions, folks? No? If nobody has any questions, then I'm going to adjourn the session, and we'll meet back here next week. If you want to pitch, please let Maureen know, by registering on the public roundtable page. Make sure you register to pitch, and Maureen will send you instructions. Pari, you have a question? Please go ahead. Do you want to put your question in public chat, or would you like to call in? If you want to ask your question by calling in, these are the call-in instructions on the screen. What happened, Pari? You've disappeared? Well, I saw Pari raise his hand, and then he's disappeared. So anyway, hopefully we'll have a chance to hear from him next time. Maureen, I would like to wrap up today, and we'll finish our further discussions, further working sessions next week. Next week we'll get back to doing the usual format of mentoring as well. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.